on me. I am still new to storytelling. This is a work in progress, but I'd like to say hey to everybody and thank you for staying up late or whatever time it is, wherever you are. I would like to do some time traveling with you while you're in quarantine. I didn't always live in Richmond. I lived in New York. And I'd like to go back there right now with all of you to the last decade of the last century. It's called the 90s, in case you were not born at that time yet. I was in my 20s, and it was a time of flux, and I was learning how to be confident about myself and to take my writer inside seriously. I wasn't doing a great job of it, but I'd known since I was like 7. I'd heard this little voice that said, "Donna, you are a writer," but it seemed a lot harder to actually do that in life than just listening to that voice. So I was friends with lots of writers, which is interesting. I supported them a lot. I went to their poetry readings. I went to their book days, events. And one time, a friend of mine noticed that I was just writing in a notebook. I always had a notebook, and I would have little notes in there. And it was kind of like I was Harriet the Spy or something. I just had little cryptic stuff in here. I never could finish any of my writing. I couldn't make a real project out of anything. I don't know exactly why, but she did poetry readings, and one of the places that she did them was at the Nuyorican Poets Cafe. But she wasn't limited to that. She went to really any poetry reading. And she brought me to one time. She said, "Bring your notebook." I went to everything with her. So I brought my notebook, and so this is actually my first open mic that I went to, but it was not the first one of my choice. She actually, unbeknownst to me, signed me up for the poetry reading. It was probably the tamest poetry reading I've ever been to. Everybody, I don't know. It was, I was a little surprised being in the audience, hearing my name. Donna Joyce is our next reader. And I look at her, and she says, "Just read something out of your notebook." And I think, "Are you crazy? I don't even have a poem. I don't have a poem." And she said, "Just read it. Just read something. Just open it up and read." So I'm like, okay. I take the opportunity. I sit in front of everyone in the chair. We're all on the same level. I'm like practically with the audience. And I open up my notebook and I read part of a page, and everyone claps. And I can hear some mm-hms out there, and it's feeling pretty good. I'm like, wow, okay, I did it. And then we're talking afterwards, and she said, "You should do the slam. You know the poetry slam? You should do the slam at the Nuyorican next Wednesday." I'm like, okay. What? After not finishing any writing whatsoever, I decide that I'm going to do the poetry slam, the open slam, on Wednesday night. And if you don't know what a poetry slam is, it's something that the Nuyorican seems to be known for. It's a very competitive place for writing and art. And the poetry slam is super arbitrary. They just pick about 5 people from the audience that are not connected to any of the poets that are going to be reading. And the people do not have to have any special qualifications except that they became audience members. So they don't have to know about poetry at all. They don't have to be musicians or anybody who would be a judge. They just have to be regular people. And this is actually not originated at the Nuyorican, but rather in Chicago, Nestor, at the Green Mill. Mark Kelly Smith wanted to bring poetry to the people. He was a poet and a construction worker. And he created slams in the 80s. I didn't even know about that, but until I started doing this. But I created 2 poems because I needed 2 poems to go there. I worked really hard on the first one. There are 2 rounds. I really didn't think I was going to get a second round, and I worked less diligently on the second poem. But I had 2, okay? So I already finished 2 pieces of work. And I went to the Nuyorican with my friend. I signed up. And all of a sudden, I mean, I've been to the Nuyorican so many times with other folks and supporting people. I began to notice all the things that were different from the first open mic that I'd been to. Like, there was a stage, and there was a spotlight, and there was a microphone, and I'm starting to feel sick to my stomach, and I have my poems folded in my hands because I couldn't commit it to memory. It took all of my energy just to write 2 poems in 1 week, and I hear my name being called. Donna Joyce is our next reader, and I'm thinking, oh my God, that sounds so exciting. I'm sure I do not feel like that right now. So I'm walking up the stage steps, and I'm thinking to myself, I was, it was like I was in the baby pool in the poetry reading last week, and I thought I was just going to the big pool, and swimming lessons. You graduate from the baby pool to the bigger pool, but now I'm starting to feel like I went from the baby pool to the high diving board experience, and I'm climbing the high dive, and I'm like, oh my God, okay, how am I going to get off of this diving board? I get onto the stage, and I'm thinking, oh my God, I didn't think about how high the stage would be above people. I don't know if they could see under my skirt. I should have worn something longer. I step into the spotlight, and oh my God, there's the microphone. Somebody yells, use the microphone! And I step up to it, and then it feels like way too much. So I step back, and I'm fumbling with my poem. I'm just praying to myself. I never pray. And all of a sudden I hear this guy who I know always sits at the bar and says things like what he says to me, read the goddamn poem! And I'm like, holy fuck, oh my God, what am I doing up here? Okay, so I open my poem and I look at it, and it looks like, I don't even recognize this. I say, my poem is Salmon. Naked together in the warm sunlit kitchen after making love all morning. What the fuck did I write? Oh my God! I have written a sex poem. This is my first poem on the stage at the Nuyorican, and how the hell am I going to get through this experience? All of these thoughts are just mulling in my head, and I can feel like this avalanche coming from the ceiling down. My whole demeanor is going and then it comes back up like in uncontrollable nervous laughter. I am laughing through my poem. I can barely say the words. And I'm just beyond, I feel like I have no control over myself. I become like the drowning swimmer and the lifeguard at the same time. In life-saving, I learned how to save a drowning swimmer that's flailing, because, you know, you can just sneak up in back of them and you put your arm over their shoulder and tuck it under, and you just hang on. You just have to hang on until they notice you, like that you're going to actually save them. And so I am flailing. I am hanging on and I'm flailing through the whole, like, to the... How long is this fucking poem? Oh my God, what did I write here? Oh, so then I become so exhausted that I stop. I need to get some control. I want to actually say my poem. Breathing. And some audience members say, keep reading. Like, oh my God, I feel like I'm in the middle of the poem. When will it end? I try, I keep stumbling through, I laugh more, I finally finish. I say the last line. He says to her, "You are so beautiful, even your teeth marks excite me." And I feel like I want to fall to the floor in a puff of smoke. And then I hear the host calling out the the judges' scores. A 7.5. They are rated from 1 to 10. 1 being the lowest and 10 being the highest. 7.5. An 8. A 6.5. Everybody goes boo. A 9. And another 7.5. And I say, oh my God, can I get off of this stage? I leave the stage and I think, thank God, I need to get out of here. And the host is running after me. She says, do you have another poem? And I'm like, what? I can't even, like, hear what she's saying. Do you have another poem? Your scores got you another round. Got you to round 2. And I said, oh my God. Oh, Jesus, please. I feel like she's the swimming instructor saying, like, great job, Donna, you just climbed the high dive and jumped off finally, and, you know, you got one more turn. Why don't you go dive off the high dive? Like, okay, all right. I don't even really like this poem, but all right, I'll do it. I'm here. This may be the last time I ever do something like this. So I go back up on the stage. It feels a little bit better because, you know, I've been here before. I know how to climb these stairs. Okay, I'm going to use the microphone now. Okay, I get to the microphone and I can't adjust it. I'm short and I always have to adjust the microphone. I've never used a microphone before, so I can't really adjust it. I'm taking too long. I don't want to be yelled at again by the guy at the bar. So I open up my poem and I'm trying to read, like, I'm looking and I'm sure that no one can see my face because my paper is in front of my face, and I don't even know if they actually heard my poem, but I got much lower scores, thankfully. And I know, surprise, surprise, I did not move on to the Friday Night Slam. I would have died, for sure. So I was unremarkable the second time, thankfully, and I left with my friend, and she's like, how you doing? I'm like, I'm so hungry. We went and had dinner, and she said, so what do you think? And I said, yeah, I think I could do it. I think I could do this. I can finish poets. I already finished 2, so she's like, yeah, you have 2 poems already, so... And I was on my journey, my writing journey. I had finished 2 poems, and I knew I could finish more. So, that's my thing.